All right, so this will be another around 9 minute demo of another study I did of a photo I took while I was on a trip to Copenhagen here this summer, and I'm gonna try and explain sort of what's going on. I know a lot of stuff is moving fast right now, but I think it's understandable enough because it's still quite simple. Um, about how I will go about this like landscape study here. So as you can see, basically I start off with some very simple blocking, just a bunch of selection tools, filling out colors, maybe having one other value on there, and I will name the name the layers later on, but I'll make sure to have pretty much every element in the painting on a separate layer, and like start off real simple. I will quickly mention later about some mistakes I feel like I made in terms of the process that I will try to avoid next time I do something. But over that, I'll just tell you what's going on like in the moment. So I mainly wanted to like paint this because of the red door. The red door works as a nice contrast because it's like the only red thing in the shot, and it's so bright and that with along with the green and the beige and that. There will be a few time cuts as well because there was sometimes I forgot to press record and I would like forget it and like do it late on and that. Um, so if you're curious about how I did the bushes and that, it's just a bunch of scribbles on top of each other and a few different texture brushes. I kind of have to layer it a bunch and it's quite a tedious process. So you would like draw or paint a like a general shape for a bush and then like pick a different color matching the bush color, like a different color green, draw a bunch of leaf shapes on top and then like airbrush a little bit of the base bush color, so you kind of go back and forth between the colors when you drew the foliage. um and you can see it just kind of blob them in there like with the purple leaves and that. Because I think as long as the information reads, you don't need to do that much. At least with a study, I'm not gonna spend extra time trying to add details and texture and all of that stuff. If it was a different kind of production, I probably will have to. But considering this is like, I think a 5 hour study total, um, like having the amount of detail that I want would probably take a little longer, maybe a whole week, trying to figure that out. But as you can see, like here, like now, I add later on the elements here, like on the side was something that I should have done at the start of the painting process, but for some reason didn't, and I feel like it would have helped me to kind of have blocked in those areas a bit more from the start, and not focus on like the foliage and the windows too much yet. Because something that was a little bit painful while doing this is that like working on a study like this can be a bit discouraging sometimes because it doesn't really look like anything until like you have added in every single element. So like it was only really at this point where I kind of got a bit more exciting about painting on this, because I finally like had every single element in there that I needed. Like I got all the windows and the balconies and the light pole and down, and you'll see me add another tree in the foreground a little bit later on. Like you can see these are all very simple, but as soon as I got it in there, like it just starts looking like something. Like when I just started out, and the balconies wasn't there, it just looked very empty. So I think at least in this case I learned like, start off with having like all the elements there at least with a painting like this. With other paintings I could probably add elements in later when I needed to, but for this it was hard to keep the workflow going. I actually spent like these 5 hours that I spent on this study was something that took like basically like I worked 1 or 2 hours on it and then like waited 2 months and then like finally did the rest. So yeah, it's a bit of a dumb process, and it was hard to find the motivation for it. But here you can see a good example of sort of like how we go around the bushwork with that blobbing in and then just the layering. And I'm not too happy with the foliage. I do find it to be quite a tricky thing. So I'll definitely try and do future studies of that. Stuff like the chairs won't be that noticeable, so I try not to put too much energy into stuff that you won't see that well. It's sort of just like little details that kind of help shape the image, but it's not something you really pay attention to. But it still matters to have there like those elements, like the little pots and the little chairs. Helps make the painting still feel alive. And other than that, like I'm just detailing a little bit, and it looks a bit mad how I'm just jumping back and forwards and stuff like that. But really, the process of this has mostly just been like selection tooling to blocking everything, and then I kind of go through the process again, just kind of picking different values to add the shading and the lighting and all of that stuff there. There you can kind of see how I kind of do it with just one shape. So like I blocked in the shape, but just start adding the other values. Because these are the final elements, I can do it from start to finish here instead of just like blocking it out first and then like rendering it later on. So it's quite a simple process. Like most of what requires is you just know where the light hits from and which surfaces the light hit, and then you can just, you know, add one or two different values, and then you kind of got it. Like I always say, as long as it reads, that's really what matters. Yeah. And it's nearing the end now. I got like a few elements left, which is the bag, and I think that also gonna help kind of add those little final touches to the image. You can see as soon as the new elements gets like added, it feels more and more, I guess, real. You know, especially when it's a city like Copenhagen and that there's so much stuff going on. And you will see me later. I think I'll add some leaves to the ground as well, and that's also gonna just add a lot. I feel that that's one thing I just learned about this image. You need like all those kind of grounding elements and a little bit of detail and trust to really like feel like really just make the image real. You can see me working at the back, so I use the line tool here for these, and I don't try to spend too much time and energy on the backs either, just enough that you can see, oh, it's a bike and the light hits it in certain areas and blah blah blah. So especially with this one, because the bike is going to be hidden behind the tree, so it's not that noticeable. And yeah, I think the last thing I'm just touching up is just adding those leaves, and I felt like they make a big difference, even though like it will just be sort of like a pattern on the ground. And yeah, I think these are the final little touches that just help add a little bit more. I could stylize the image a bit more in hindsight, as you can see, but I'm still quite happy with how it turned out and what I learned from it. I don't think I explained the process that well, but I think it's just simple enough to see. It's just the hardest part is really figuring out the right colors to pick and where to add the shadows and so on. But otherwise, I would say the methods of using the lasso tool and layering stuff in that sense is straightforward enough forward. But yeah, there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed, and take care.